No. Wrong seminar. You might get one button out of me because it's really hot, but that's it. No. Jeez, am I lucky to be here with all these women. And they want me to take their clothes off. Take their clothes off. I'll play that game. Even though you guys got numbers. Now, can you guys feel the power in this room? Yeah. And I love working with ladies because ladies, they're the executives, they're the decision makers. Women are the ones who get things done, right? Right. Now, in my work, when there's the autistic kid or the kid with ADD, it's a single mom who brings them. When there's family, and family needs support or people to take care of, it's the woman who takes care of them. So I have a huge amount of respect for women, which is why, ladies, I gotta tell you some things about your brain. Now, your brain, you have to be careful. Ladies, you get away with less monkey business. And I know you ladies like your monkey business. Because your brains, ladies, are much more sensitive to the environment. And you have much less room for error. So your brain and your hormones are much more attuned, much more sensitive, and thus also more influenced and susceptible to being controlled and altered. And so it's mighty important that you care for your brain. And us guys, we're not that smart. So we're thankful that your beautiful bodies are so sensitive to the environment to know whether it's safe to reproduce or not. Because if you left it up to guys, we're such big chickens, we'd all be extinct. So thank you very much, ladies. Now, before we get into the super juicy ways on how to optimize your brain and hormones, I want to tell you a little bit more about how and why I've had this intimate relationship with the brain and why I'm so passionate about super learning, about optimizing cognition, cognitive development, and learning. And also, you should know that I'm going to teach you all how to overcome your addiction to female crack, otherwise known as peanut butter. So I'm going to tell you a little story of the princess and the peanuts. Now, to tell you how I earned my right to be here, and rest assured, ladies, you're in good hands, is, as Karen said, I'm a neuroplastician, master brain trainer, crazy Shaolin Qigong disciple, mastering Tai Chi. And when the Qi takes over, it completely transforms your body. So I don't know if any of you guys saw on Facebook the photo of me 4 years ago compared to today, but completely different person, with a completely different brain, a completely different mind, completely different hormones, completely different being. And so basically, I'm kind of like the ultimate brain man. And I optimize people's brains as fast as your brain fires, and that is super fast. Because that's how the brain works after all. Learning, it's fast and exponential, not slow and incremental. It's the same thing for melting fat off your body. And our entire life, we're filled, with so much content and information without ever being taught really how to most effectively learn and organize and remember all the information. So really what I do is I help you optimize the processes of your brain so that you can learn and remember at peak capacity, so that you can build a smarter, stronger brain that works better, that's more effective, so you can essentially get things done. And that's what it's about, being able to get things done with supreme creativity, and holding that space completely depends on how your brain and physiology is working. And space and time are relative. So when you change your space, it changes your perception of time. Then what's life made of? Just moments, one after the next, after the next, after the next. Now, when you were kids and your brain was filled, buzzing with energy, time was really expansive. And so, if you change and optimize your brain, you can reclaim that expansiveness, that juiciness of life to get huge amounts of things done. But it all depends on optimizing your brain power. So number one, how much juice your brain has, the actual neurochemistry, then your mental bandwidth, your cognitive capacity, your working memory, your ability to hold so many things in your mind and navigate all the information. And then C, your neuroplasticity or flexibility, how able you are to shift from different thoughts, see different perspectives, move to different behaviors. And in my work, it's all about combining the Eastern and West for total transformation, because that's how things happen. It's total leaps and bounds. So I do things like QEEG brain mapping, so imaging the brain to see where it's at. Because how do you know where your brain's at unless you look? Do you take any supplements, ma'am? Mm-hmm. Now, how do you know if those supplements are good enough for your brain? You don't, which is why, as people ask me, do I need to do the brain mapping? Yeah, of course, as a magician of the brain, I can train your brain without a brain map, but it's way easier if we have a brain map. We see what's going on in your brain. Oh, there are the imbalances there. That region's a little underactive. That one's a little overactive. Okay, let's strap on this cap and activate those brain regions and balance it like a mechanic, right? If your car's not working properly, you go to the mechanic to get it fixed. So it's the same thing with the brain. Then there's other technologies like neurofeedback, where you can basically get your brain to a Zen meditative state. As opposed to taking 20 years, you can get there in 30 minutes. And then I do my own personal brain training with like mind techniques and super learning strategies to activate and rewire the brain. And just got back from London, England, now licensed in NLP, doing hypnosis, so a lot of stuff to physically change the brain. And then I mentioned hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which if you want to sprout some new brain cells and get that brain a little happier and that smile a little bigger, that you may want to do that. And you may want to guess my age correctly. And I also teach the Qigong, the Tai Chi, full personal training regimens, because movement is miracle grow for the brain. Nature's always moving. It's not stuck, and nature gets everything done. So movement is the #1 way to boost your brain, which is why when it's beautiful and sunny, one of the best things I want people doing is getting out in the sunshine, doing Tai Chi, where they can move gracefully, effortlessly, and it becomes like moving meditation, where you synchronize. And when you synchronize, your hormones begin brewing and brewing and brewing and building until it just explodes. And you go to a next level dimension of brain power, of consciousness, of health, of being, of heart space. And thus your experience of time in your entire life changes. So really, in my work, I'm kind of like the one-stop shop for brain health and life. Kind of important. Now, with that, there are some key things that I want to talk about here tonight. And one of the neurotransmitters I'm going to keep referring to over and over again is this neurotransmitter dopamine. Have any of you guys heard of dopamine?
Yes.
Yes, you have. Anyone who's a client knows dopamine, 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 dopamine. Why dopamine? Because dopamine controls your brain voltage, how fast you think, how fast neurons fire, how fast electrons move on that electron chain transport, if I have any geeks in the house. Why do people do drugs like cocaine and speed? It speeds their brain up, makes things go faster, makes them feel better. Why are kids who have brain fog and slow given amphetamines, which is what they are, methyl derivatives of cocaine like Ritalin and Adderall, to speed the brain up? Now, are there natural ways to jack up and juice your brain? Of course. And dopamine is very, very important. You see, the thing is, when dopamine's low, our brain, our thinking is slow. And we don't make decisions. We have indecision. And indecision's the #1 killer. The #1 thing, moving back and forth, because it creates more and more stress and stress and stress. And then just keeps skyrocketing more and more. So basically, when you change the amount of dopamine in your brain, it changes how you think, it changes the decisions that you make, and it changes, your destiny, what it is you do and achieve. Now, across the board, all diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia, and cancer are associated with low dopamine, because dopamine is a sign of energy balance. Whenever dopamine's off, energy balance is off. Now, someone mentioned menopause. Now, going through menopause, did you happen to have, brain fog, cloudiness, energy problems? Yeah. It's because progesterone levels are changing, hormone levels are changing. And now when progesterone drops, dopamine drops. And progesterone to estrogen ratio gets lower and lower, and it reduces dopamine more and more. Because that progesterone estrogen ratio is a measure of the body's energy, which is why the number one thing when progesterone drops, it'll be low energy. When dopamine drops, you don't have, the mood. Motivation goes way down. And then when you have a lack of DHA, so any of you have like mommy brain? Like after, no?
What are you looking at me for?
I don't know. You were smiling. Anyone have mommy brain where you have the kid and then like your brain feels sluggish, like gears and wrench in it? That's because... Yeah, well, you gotta,
That's why I have 6 cups of coffee a day. Dopamine and to clear that brain.
Yeah. She has no dopamine. She'll keep depleting it. She's joking, though. She was just out in the sun for 20 minutes. What she's talking about? Her brain's got dopamine. And meditating, both of which increase dopamine. But now the key there for the DHA I was talking about is that the baby basically takes DHA from your buttocks. Yes, women, your shape, your hourglass shape is a sign to guys that you can make a big-brained baby. So guess what? If you ladies stand up and I check out your hips, I'm going to see which one's the most attractive. And then the female gait, how they move those hips, is how guys measure attractiveness of females. So ladies, you have to have DHA in those fat cells. Because if you don't, your body's going to keep craving more and more fat until you keep stockpiling more and more fat because your body's craving the DHA. That's what obesity is. Then you don't have the DHA, obesity, you got all this fat, brittle bones because you can't hold energy, you get osteoporosis. So there's a lot of stuff. So how do we surge dopamine? Light and love. So use, love to lighten up your life, and you better start loving light. Because there's this amino acid named tyrosine, and in the presence of UV light, when it touches your skin, converts tyrosine into dopamine. Dopamine then fuels motivation, mood. This is why sun is good mood food. You guys go outside in the sun, it's like, I feel more relaxed, right? And then the other way to boost dopamine is through movement. Now, are any of you guys read any of the popular neuroscience books, like The Brain's Way of Healing? Have you heard of it? Well, there's a book called The Brain's Way of Healing with all these different stories of how to leverage the changeable nature of the brain to help cure and balance different neurological conditions. Now, one of them is Parkinson's, right? And you look at Parkinson's and you're just shaking. Guess what dopamine does? It locks your brain in a solution, into a neural pattern. So just like you're shaking, neurologically when you don't have dopamine, and dopamine locks in one motor pathway, when you don't have dopamine, you're also indecisive. Back and forth, getting stressed. So movement is one of the number one ways to boost dopamine. So when I say get out in the morning, get in the sun, and do some Tai Chi, just like all the monks would do intuitively, it's important. You got to do it, ladies. Because ladies, when you raise dopamine, you raise your mood, your motivation, your willpower. And now, all of a sudden, little high-return foods, little high-return behaviors, like muffins, no longer bite you in the ass and get glued on the ass because you have the brain juice. And you have the brain juice to think and plan. So now, your brain, as opposed to making this short little movie, for instance, one, which I know every one of you ladies has done before, so you make this short movie, you're in the kitchen, and you see yourself opening up the cabinet door, and then inside is the big jar of peanut butter. I told you the peanut butter was coming. And you see the jar of peanut butter, and then you start salivating, you start moving towards it. You just grab the jar, and then you take off the lid, and you smell it. Oh, it smells so good. And then you grab a tablespoon, and then you just dive on in and take a heaping tablespoon, and you eat it, and it's like, And then you'd go for another one because there's a little spurt of dopamine when you eat the peanut butter, and the females, they just love it. So you go in for a second when you eat it. And then you look over and you see the family room. You don't eat it?
I rarely eat it.
Okay, well, I'm talking about a lot of people who do have peanut butter problems.
I understand that.
Because you go on the internet, there's an epidemic of peanut butter addiction.
Really? No kidding.
Well, you guys are like the special group, I guess, the accelerated kids. Jesus, I'm talking to myself here. Well, ladies, keep playing with me. Keep playing with me. Come on, come on. So keep playing with me. So you see the peanut butter. You have the second bite. Then you look over, and you see the television. So then you take the peanut butter over, you go on the television. No, peanut butter and ice cream, even worse. Fine. And you know what? Because you have attitude, I know you. You go grab the remote. Actually, not you. I know a lot of women. They grab the remote, they put on their PVR Young and the Restless. So whether it's ice cream.
I don't watch that either.
You guys are the special group. You got to understand the lay people. So that way you'll be more empathetic. More empathetic. Guys, I love this story. I just want to keep going. You guys want to keep going? Come on.
Okay, we're in.
I learned it today. I was driving the car. It's like, oh, the peanut butter story. I got to make one. The women are going to love it. So just pretend that you love it. Put a big smile. Okay. So, you keep going. You have the peanut butter, perhaps ice cream. What else do you guys do? Chocolate? Fine, let's say a big, what kind of chocolate bar? Chocolate chips on your thing.
Patties.
You guys tell me your dynamite food. You guys all have a dynamite food. You have your dynamite food, you have the remote. You put on any soap opera it is, maybe Dancing with the Stars. You see it. You have them both in your hands. Yes. Okay, now we're moving in the right direction. So you have your dynamite, you have the remote, and you're like, ah, life is good. And then your brain's low in dopamine, so you see that, and it has this extra appeal. And you just go one bite after the next, and with each bite, there's this another burst of dopamine, and your brain keeps going. You keep going deeper and deeper. Yeah, you keep doing it. And then, you're not even paying attention. And then you look, the jar's empty. And then, within 30 seconds or less, that feeling starts going, Why did I eat the peanut butter? Why do I always do that to myself? Coffee. I'm not worthy. And the reason why we engage in these behaviors is because our brain doesn't have dopamine. Dopamine is what fuels us to think. Dopamine is what gets kids and you to make a long movie where you play out the consequences of your actions. You see, the kid who goes for cocaine, goes for marijuana, they make this little short movie in their head where they take it, they get the little high, and then they end it there. Where your brain, ladies, if you have anything that's your dynamite, you got to make a longer movie. You have to raise dopamine in your brain. So that way you can see the full out consequences of your actions. So that way, when you're looking at the ice cream or the peanut butter. Does anyone have a peanut butter addiction here that I can cure? You do?
I do.
Okay. So next time you look at the peanut butter, instead of seeing that little short movie that gets you going, you're going to see what that peanut butter is going to do to you. You're going to see it. Every nut, every particle in that peanut butter is just going to stick to your ass like glue.
Ass, I don't mind. It's the stomach.
The thighs, the stomach. And you know what? With every bite, you can see that stomach bulging more and more and getting bigger and bigger. And you're just getting nauseous. And you're just getting big like this big fat squirrel. Have you seen those big squirrels in the winter? And you look at most people, what are most people like? They're like munch, 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 like a little squirrel, right?
Yep.
And then you think about it, most people, because their brains are low in dopamine, they're like indecisive. Oh, I'll do this. No, 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 I'll do that. No, I'll do this. No, I'll do this. And then boom, all of a sudden you're roadkill, like a squirrel. People are like a squirrel. And I'm a guy. I have ADD. Squirrel. I'm not making this up, folks. There's a logic to nature. You got to see things through. People, they're like squirrels. So next time you see your dynamite food, rather than being like a squirrel, you'd be like, no freaking way. And instead, what you see is this big, long, bright movie of you acting decisively, stepping into your power, saying yes, knowing that the jar of peanut butter doesn't have more willpower than you do. And you see this big, juicy movie of you in the body that you want, this sexy, strong, sculpted body, and you see the light shining on you. And then, whatever food it is, you see yourself with the control. Because it's not about denying yourself. It's not you can't do this, you can't do that. The thing is, when you're a fat-burning machine, you can eat any food you want, no problem. So the thing is to build in the control, okay? Where you see whatever it is, that jar of peanuts. And I wouldn't do the one in the jar anyways. You know they put all the ugliest beans in the jar, right? That's why it's made for peanut butter. Right? So if you're going to do it, you want to see yourself making this juiciest peanut butter with like wild jungle peanuts and just grinding it up until it's this smooth, creamy, delicious peanut butter where it's so satiating you just need 1 tablespoon or 2. And that's it. So the whole key is changing how your brain works. When you change the movies, the images, the modalities your brain makes. So things like anxiety attacks. I used to have anxiety attacks. I still get it a little bit because my brain would make a movie seeing me getting all stressed. And then it would make it worse, and it would make it worse, make it worse. And now I've just shrunk that sucker down. And I've built new patterns of functioning. Okay, so all your memories, all your bits of experiences, energy is not created nor destroyed. So they rest within you. It's just the key is building new dominant neurological patterns so that there's stimulus, now there's a new response. So you're building a new pathway for the machine of your brain and mind. Because from the machine of your brain and mind emerges consciousness. And your brain is simply an antenna. Receives energy, transmits it. It's all information. So nothing's inherently good or bad. And you can choose to think whatever you want. And you know, sometimes it's about, it's not about what's what or right, it's about what's useful to believe. What's empowering, what's going to ignite you. What's going to ignite your heart space until you are just so excited, so happy, where every day you wake up with this passion and there's no way the world's going to deny you. You're going to get what you want. Right? So how I know all this and how I have such passion is because I had a brain that was in big trouble. And when your brain goes, everything goes across the board. So my whole life, I've had anxiety and panic attacks. In my third year university, I had a 4.9 GPA. It was number 2 in 6,000 at Western University. If I didn't have my monkey business, I'd have like a gold medal from Western. But, so at that time, my image of success was going to Harvard Law. Harvard Law, Harvard MBA. You've seen the flashy movies like The Firm, and it's like, oh yeah, I want to be like Tom Cruise, live the action, And that was, the image of success. So I started studying for the LSAT right away, started getting near perfect scores, 180s on the exam. So I booked my test. And I went in full out adrenaline panic attack. It was overwhelming. And guess what, ladies? Even still before an event, I still get it a little bit. But now there's just no freaking way that anxiety's coming. And if I happen to mess myself up by eating, some partially uncooked egg whites before an event, like I did before Belinda's event, you'll see me and I'm like, white. But resilience, no matter what, you power through. But the thing was, for me, I had this full-out panic attack. Adrenaline pumping through my body, just paralyzing me. And, I had to walk out of the exam. And I didn't quit at anything in my life. And I was a determination machine. So my strategy was just to work harder. Right? You read any self-help book, what is it? They'll give you some productivity little chart, and they'll say work harder. For a lot of them. So I actually had such determination, I had studied to the point where there was no fresh materials for me to study. I'd gone through every single one. So I was stressing about trying to find new practice materials for the exam. And I go into the second exam, and same thing happens. Go in, another panic attack. Now, my entire life, I'd been a naturalist, a personal trainer when I was young, big into nutrition. I'd worked at, a high-end grocery store when I was young, and all the, elderly women there would feed me all the, the healthiest foods. Oh, Chris, try this, try this, try this, try this. And I did love chocolate muffins. That was my dynamite back then. But at this point, I was somewhat desperate for something. Not desperate, but like looking for something to help me get over the edge. Because I'd been in 2 exams and both times, like complete hell break loose, no control. Now my upper year friends, medical students, PhD students, abuse things like all these Ritalin and Adderall, these stimulant medications they give to kids. Not only that, they abuse the higher drugs like cocaine. It all opens into that. There's always that next high, greater high that the brain's seeking. Now I, decided to give it a try. And for me, someone who was emotionally unstable, anxiety already high, it sent me overboard. And it led to rigid, out of control behavior. And it ended up, doing some crazy stuff and depleting through my savings, ended up being hospitalized, 150 pounds. Yeah, I was really weak. Like if you look at some of the photos, I don't know, some of them on Facebook, I was pretty broken down. And my whole family was worried. Like, why are you so thin? And for me, I had this distorted self-image. So I didn't think I was thin. What are you talking about?
Never have that.
Yeah. Yeah. So a little bit, ladyitis. No, I'm kidding. But I was 150 pounds and then was hospitalized. And then one morning, it was 5 a.m. I just looked and I was like, what the hell am I doing? And I reached that enough is enough point. And that's what people have to reach, whether it's anxiety, whether it's PTSD, whether it's a fear. It's that enough is enough. Some never again. Okay? So if you've been, have psychological issues or neurological issues, you have to get some never again. So that you basically pursue whatever your true heart desires, full force. For me, that was the Qigong, Tai Chi, getting into neuroscience, getting into the brain, the mind, and basically optimizing my own brain at lightning speed, using all the neurotechnologies that I use to optimize my own brain. And then it got to the point where I was working with so many people asking for my advice. Chris, what do I do to work out for my brain? How do I use my mind for my brain? Because they saw changes in me. I went from being that stressed, tense person with no time for anyone to now having time. I started going out. I never went to the bars. Fourth year university, I started going to the bars first time. And I started, taking time to speak with people and share with them. And people noticed a change in my behavior. So I started running my own little business. I wasn't charging anyone. I was just like, hey, you do this, you do this, you do this. Why are you wasting so much time on this? Just do this. Eat this before. You'll feel better. Your headaches will go away. And then, quickly that Harvard Law MBA dream became, running my own business and getting to where I am today. Working with a lot of females. Some who have major brain problems. Others who have, not as bad brain problems. And I have some females where lawyers wouldn't classify it as physical abuse, but we do the brain map and we take a look and we see how stressed, how damaged the brain is. We see how locked up in a state of stress it is. And then the woman comes in, she has memory issues, vision issues, can't even hear, almost deaf, from becoming like a cocoon of herself from the emotional stress in a relationship. And there's some important differences I'm going to tell you in a sec about the female brain. But women, you can't underestimate the effects of emotional stress. The female brain's way more sensitive. It's just like female concussions. Different ballgame than male concussions. Big time. So, there's some key differences about female-male brain we're going to get into right now. And I am a guy, and I do want to apologize. We do have ADD, squirrel phenomenon. And guys, our brains are literal. We really can only think of one thing at a time. And we usually only think of 3 things, which are 1, food and drink. Number 2, sports. 3, sex. Am I right? Yeah. Greg's nodding his head. I'm looking for the cue. Greg's nodding his head. It's true, ladies. And ladies, we also have these compartments in our brain. Guys, little things. We have like the work box. We have the sports box, we have the sex box, and we have the nothing box. So sometimes, ladies, there's really nothing going on in our brain. I'm not kidding. We're really that smart. And the thing is, ladies, when you guys are talking to us, you mean exactly what you say, right? No. And guys, we're not that smart. And we're not very good detectives. Which is why there could be the cute girl on the other side, and she could be looking away, and, twirling her hair, and the guy would be like, damn, she's not interested. She's not even looking at me. When really, she's just dying. Oh, please come over. Please come over. So there's some really key differences between the male and female brain. So for males have much more testosterone and dopamine, which heightens mood, motivation, and causes the brain to lock in, narrow, focusedly on one task. Which is why, ladies, if you have men in your life, and he, seems narrow-minded, closed-minded, and unable to see other options and perspectives, am I right? Guys, can get pretty locked in, pretty stubborn, right? That's because their brain's higher in dopamine. Now, this makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. Guys, hone in on food. Food, come home, bring the bacon home, honey. You know what I mean? Now, females have much more sensitive brains. Females are much more attuned and connected to others. Now, the female brain is much higher in serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that opens up the brain to forming new pathways, new behaviors, new thoughts, new perspectives. This is why mind-altering drugs, like psychoactive drugs, flood the brain with serotonin and increase brain plasticity, basically heightening your awareness, shutting down ego-centered sense of self, like deep, deep meditation, basically opening you up to more oneness and connectivity with others. Now, the thing is, it's all about the balance. Because for guys, if you have just too much testosterone, too much dopamine, and not enough oxytocin and serotonin, you can be a cold, arrogant, inconsiderate asshole.
There.
A few nods, a few experiences. So number one, but the thing is, ladies, you also can be very indecisive. Back and forth. This, no, this top, no, this top. No, let's do this, no, let's do this. Because dopamine is what locks the brain onto a solution, locks the brain onto a pattern. But the thing is, guys get very stuck in their ways, very rigid, because their brains have a lot of dopamine, so they keep doing more and more and more of what they want. And then they see something they like, and they lock onto that. Which is great if it's, working and making money. It's not so great if it's, like their secretary or something. Example. So the number two thing, so dopamine. You want to have dopamine so you can focus in on one thing. The number two is serotonin for the neural flexibility, so that you can open your brain up to new targets, new perspectives, new behaviors. Does that make sense? Okay, so the number one thing is to raise dopamine. Let's just get into it right now. We said the AM sunlight. Okay, so 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. is the most important thing. Movement. Ladies, if you're not on an exercise regimen, you got to get on some form of exercise regimen. You got to move around. Those beautiful bodies were meant to move and groove. Are you with me? Yeah? So what, you guys working out? You guys work out, even if it's movement. Any form of movement. Because for Parkinson's, it's simply walking really fast to stimulate the brain. So even walking really fast. And then being out in nature is really important. And now, another thing about the female brain which you have to know, and the main reason why females have less room for error is because the female brain is less myelinated. Meaning it has less of the protection around the nerves, meaning it's more sensitive to environmental stressors. So, if there's changes in the environment, new electromagnetic frequencies which are just growing and growing exponentially, like, technology, female brain and bodies can be most sensitive. So who gets higher rates of autoimmunity, males or females? Females. So they're more sensitive. Right? Now think about the female, if it's the mother during pregnancy is low in dopamine in this state of stress. That signal gets sent to the developing fetus. Because guess what, ladies? There's a thing called a mitochondria in our cell. Heard of a mitochondria? Yeah, the energy producing power plant? Well, yeah, it produces energy. Well, the instructions, the manual for us to produce more mitochondria, and the most mitochondria in the brain, the heart, and the immune system, which is why whenever there's an energy problem, there's a brain problem, heart problem, or immune problem, like cancer, autoimmunity. Now, the instructions for making new mitochondria, the mitochondrial DNA, guess what, ladies? They are 100% inherited from the mother because the transmission has to be perfect. No daddy interaction, straight from mom, Mother Nature. So the woman's energy producing capacity, her health, leading up to pregnancy, during pregnancy, is the biggest #1 signal to the developing fetus brain. Now, why do you guys got to pay attention when I say dopamine's important? Well, when dopamine is low, it leads to increased protein turnover. Whenever there's increased turnover, there's more likelihood of copying errors. So the more stressed you are, the more cells have to turn over and deplete, your telomeres. They get turned over. And the more cells turn over, the more prevalence there are of copying errors, of mutations. And guess what happens when that happens? The proteins start getting misshapen. Case in point, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. Hello, and if it's happening to the mom with a pregnant kid, autism. So the #1 thing for women is relaxing, melting the stress away, and you'll watch the waist go away. Now, laughing's fantastic, dear. Keep laughing. Keep laughing. Laughing releases endorphins, which help to relax your brain and body. And guess what? When you're relaxed, dear, all your hormones, which are built from LDL cholesterol, get converted to pregnenolone. When you're relaxed, that pregnenolone goes all the way to all those juicy anti-aging steroids like testosterone, like progesterone, which is progestational, DHEA, the memory hormone, and vitamin D. Now, when you're stressed, and traffic cop is stressed, when you're stressed, all that LDL cholesterol goes to cortisol.
It goes into weight. Yeah.
It goes right on your waist, my dear. So you can be eating any diet if you want. As long as that mind's still monkeying stress, that weight is sticking. Which is why women reach a plateau. Because they think, oh, I got to eat less, oh, I got to eat less. So the body will adapt and you'll shed the first 10 pounds. But then, to go to the next level, you got to turn into a fat-burning machine. Which means you have to get the whole operation from LDL cholesterol to pregnenolone going all the way to the sex steroids. Because when you have the sex steroids good, then you can eat as much as you want and keep burning. Now, there's some key things which you have to know in the hormone conversion. Is that in order for LDL cholesterol to get converted to the pregnenolone, you need T3, active thyroid, and you need vitamin A. Vitamin A signaling is caused by the eye, signaling in the eye, in the retina. It's actually a retinal segment, light-sensitive pigment. And the #1 thing which controls vitamin A is not beta-carotene in vegetables, it's circadian timing of the rhythms of when you get the proper light signal first thing in the morning. So your eyes, lady, the reason why people sun gaze, because your eyes are receptive to only 5 photons. So when you look at the sun first thing in the morning, or you look at fake light, those photons are what click in the brain. And when you have them right from the sun, it releases dopamine in the brain. Now when you release dopamine, guess what dopamine does? Is it opens the pituitary gland and floods out all those anti-aging hormones. Which is why, if you go out in the sun, you'll notice it tightens your body. If you notice you're a little bit swollen, try next time. Go out in the sun in the morning and get it on your skin and notice everything tightening. Because you're getting energy from the sun, which is then tightening collagen, making your face tighter, making your waist tighter, making your hips tighter. You interested? Yeah. So you got to try these and then apply them.
Belinda has a good question.
Yeah.
Do you have to be naked to get it on our skin?
Naked sunbathing is #1 the best. Now, make sure you have some form of relationship with your neighbors where they can't see you, or you have a little corner. Like I have Chris's naked sunbathing corner in my backyard. So don't go in the backyard, ladies, please. You never know.
What about through glass? Is it?
No, glass blocks the UV light.
Pardon?
Glass blocks it.
It does. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does. So don't live in a glass house.
So the sun's streaming through. It's not giving you anything really. None of those effects.
It is because you're outside in the
No,
sun.
but I'm just saying, like say you have an apartment, then the sun's coming through.
Do you have an apartment? Do you live in an apartment? Okay. Do any of you guys live in an apartment? You kind of do?
Yeah.
Well, key point. My anxiety and panic attacks happened when I moved to downtown London. I went to Western University in an apartment on the 12th floor. And I couldn't sleep well. And I knew something was stressing my body, and I didn't find out until I realized that all the electromagnetic energies, the higher you go off the earth, the more they zap your brain. Where do people get blood clots? When they are flying. Why is that? Because when you're off the earth, the EMF is higher and it zaps the brain and the whole charge in the blood. When the blood loses its charge, things don't move as well. Meaning things get sticky. Meaning cholesterol and triglycerides become a problem when your energy in your body's low. Now, I eat a lot of fat, apparently, compared to someone. So I'm going to have to get my blood work. But the thing is, when you have the chi, the charge in the blood, it makes everything slippery. Meaning everything gets to where it needs to go. Does that make sense? Yeah. And the thing is, your brain and heart are the two biggest magnets in your body. And things called blood is paramagnetic, means it's drawn to magnetic fields. So blood goes to your brain. You use your brain, blood goes there. Heart's pumping, blood goes there. You know, you eat food, it goes to your gut. So the thing is when the chi, the energy in the blood is strong, all the fatty acids, all the cholesterol gets to where it needs to go, which is the brain. Because your brain only weighs 2 to 3% of your body weight, but has 25% of the cholesterol. Now, ladies, you go home tonight and your house is on fire. God forbid. Who the hell lit it on fire? And the firemen are there trying to put it out, and then the policemen show up. Now, the policemen, the sergeant's trying to figure out who caused the fire. Would any of you blame the firemen for causing the fire?
No.
Of course not, right? But wait, they're associated. They're correlated. Fire, firemen. Disease, high cholesterol. They're associated. That's what the medical industry does. They're associated, though. See, the thing is, association relationships tell nothing about the underlying cause. And the firemen aren't the cause. See, the thing is, the reason why cholesterol is elevated is because there's so much inflammation in the system, everything's so sticky. Nothing's getting to where it needs to go. And guess what? The brain's an energy hog. Your heart's an energy hog. When it doesn't have the cholesterol and fatty acids to work, it's going to send the alarm bells to the liver. And then the liver is going to produce more inflammatory markers. So if you want to measure your inflammation, you can get an HSCRP test. HSCRP. HSCRP. HSCRP.
If you can get your doctor to do it.
No, your doctor can't do it. This is an online test. So when HSCRP is high, everything gets sticky. And then the alarm bells are going because the brain's not getting the cholesterol and fats. So it keeps raising the liver production more and more and more. And cholesterol keeps rising because it's not getting where it needs to go. Now all of a sudden it's getting all clumped up with fatty acids. Inflammation gets more and more oxidized. And boom, you have a plaque that blocks an artery and you get a heart attack. And a lot of people who take cholesterol-reducing drugs will break cholesterol free with a blood pressure reducer to open things up. Plaque gets locked up, gets knocked off, and boom, then it covers the arteries. So reducing inflammation is very important. Now, on the topic of nutrition, let's get into nutrition. You guys like food? You want to talk about food?
Sure.
Of course, right?
Love food.
You love food. Who here's a mom in the house? Oh. When you guys had your little babies, they probably were the chubbiest, cutest thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Michelin babies.
Michelin babies. Pillsbury dough babies. Chimps, they're anorexic. Everyone says, oh, chimps are so similar. They're anorexic when they're born. Human babies, Pillsbury doughboy. And then the babies, 2 years later, they start walking, they start talking, right? And then they start getting thinner. It's like, holy, where did all that fat go? Where do you think it went? Oh, this is a money question. You get this one right. It's in my books. What we were just talking about, we were talking about the brain.
Goes to the brain.
So the baby starts walking, starts talking. All of a sudden, 2 years down the road, it gets thinner. Where did all the fat go?
The brain.
You got it. Yes. I just want to make sure that you do it. Okay. So you are in the game. You're listening. Gotcha. I'm just kidding. Oh, that's good. Thank you. So all that fat goes to fuel the brain. Okay? So the baby is basically eating breast milk, which is, protein, fats, and a little bit of lactose. And then it's breaking down all that subcutaneous fat to form ketone bodies, which then go to fuel brain function and myelinate the brain. Now, babies, you realize they sleep a ton. And they're just breaking down all those fat stores, converting them into ketone bodies, which is then going to remyelinate the brain. So one of the things for females to lose weight and look great and be vibrant, you guys got to sleep. You got to sleep. And ladies, keep going and going and going. Now, none of you watch like the PVR shows at like 10 p.m. at night, do you? Oh, she's like, I live in a house and that's what happens. And, oh, why am I not losing weight, Chris? It's because you're watching Y in the R, and, at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Do you do that? Oh, geez. You're lucky.
Peter and Nikki are getting divorced, by the way.
I met her in Ottawa,
Oh, did you?
Yeah, Nikki. I gave her a chocolate bar, and she gave me a big kiss. I felt giddy. What a celebrity she is. She's been programming women for 30, 40 years. Geez, what would women do if they didn't have Young and the Restless? They might have to go out and be Young and the Restless. Yeah. Okay, so for women, what you need to know is your brain cells. Okay, have any of you heard of fish oil? Yeah? Fish oil, DHA in fish oil. Well, the thing is, I got sad news for you, ladies. You can't just supplement and get it. Now, DHA is, there's over 3 pounds of one fatty acid in your nervous system. You have a brain cell membrane, 50% of it's made of DHA. 50% of every cell membrane. DHA is in colder water fish, because in cold, you need to have the DHA so it's more flexible and fluid. Guess what happens when you have DHA in your brain cells? It makes things more flexible and fluid. It makes things signal better. Okay? Now the cell membrane, we're all energy people here, right? We're like in tune in energy, we're interested in energy. Well, the cell membrane is an excitable medium. It has a charge. And it is the ultimate transmission station. Receives energies from the environment and transmits them. The cell membranes. Okay, so the cell membrane health is absolutely critical to energy health body-wide. So 50% of it's this one fatty acid, DHA, in the nervous system, in the brain. In the brain. The others is like phosphatidylcholine, phosphatidylserine. You get those in egg yolks, beef, liver, and salmon. One of the supplements I do recommend, which is good for stabilizing cortisol levels, is actually, it's called PS, phosphatidylserine.
Really?
Yeah. PS. PS, please. Get it. PS. Get your DHA. So, for DHA, you have to get it primarily through food as your baseline strategy. Okay? Because if it's in a supplement form, it's not necessarily in the same geometric position, the proper one to get integrated in the brain. Now, are any of you guys interested in sacred geometry?
Yes.
So, geometry matters, right? Geometry changes energetics, changes function. So guess what? Every single biochemical molecule has a geometry, a structure. And how that structure is changes how that molecule works. You change the structure, you change the molecule. So for DHA, when it's in its proper form, it's in the proper structure to get integrated in the brain. Whenever you take supplements, you never know whether it's in the right spot. So part of, ladies, for you guys, part of you is finding out what works for you, is experimenting and seeing. So the number one strategy is to get like wild seafood, the best thing. Then you can supplement with different fish oils. But you have to see, experiment, see whether it's actually benefiting you. So you introduce it new. And you pay attention. Oh, how's my mind? How's my thinking? How's my stress? How's my sleep? And you measure to see whether it's working for you. It's just like anything. You want to pay attention to see the effects that you're getting. But primarily, you want to be getting it mainly from seafood, wild seafood. So the number one, the best thing for women especially, is like raw oysters, all the seafood. Because it's loaded in DHA. If you don't like oysters, you can do something else. You can do the sea vegetables. Make sure you're doing the sea vegetables like dulse, nori, because you get iodine. Iodine is actually the number one antioxidant in the brain and peripheral nervous system. So the lady who said that she was dealing post-menopause with, menopause is actually a longevity strategy, where it's an attempt on the body to help myelinate the brain. So you notice how there's potentially like heats and changes in your body temperature during menopause? That's because estrogen blocks the absorption of iodine. So when estrogen levels drop, it increases iodine absorption. So your body during that period is an attempt to increase iodine so that you can form more myelin around the nerves, more protection. Which is why you may have noticed even now that your disposition, you're a little bit calmer. You're a little bit less affected by stress.
Okay, maybe.
Potentially. Well, you look at your grandma. You look at your grandma versus your mom. Moms, stressed out as can be. Grandmas, I mean, your mom, you're closer to that than...
I'm a grandma, and I'm definitely less stressed with the grandchildren than I was with the children.
Yeah, and part of the reason why is because your nerves are more myelinated and stable. So one thing for you is to take what nature's trying to do and to leverage it, to do more of it. So to make sure you're getting more and more iodine.
Okay.
Now, your progesterone probably fell off a cliff, so you may even want to, raise that up. And you can raise that up by getting more healthy fats in your diet. So like doing things like lots of coconut oil, maybe even a little bit of grass-fed butter or ghee, a lot of the wild fish and seafood, avocados, olive oil, making sure you're getting sufficient amount of fats,
Okay.
right? Now, fats for the winter, you want to do more winter fats. So you want to do more like ghee and grass-fed butter. In the summer, you can do more avocados and stuff because they grow naturally. So everything's designed to be coupled and connected, right? So the thing with nutrition, everything's appropriate in its right context. So in the summertime, you can eat more like a vegan. Eat more raw foods, eat more sugars and fruits, because that's designed to grow naturally. Because the sunlight hits and it allows you to use the carbon in that's naturally coupled together. So I eat, I eat more blueberries and stuff, a lot of berries and stuff now. I even ate a banana the other day, for goodness sake. Yeah, I ate a banana. I was like, a big gorilla, ate a banana.
You weren't even in South America.
I wasn't even in South America. So even I eat a banana. And people say, oh my God, paleo diet, no fruit, no sugar, ketogenic diet, high fat, high protein diet. But yet people still get autoimmune conditions. It's because the thing is, when you upgrade your brain and expand your perspective, when dopamine's higher, you're able to see the bigger picture. You're able to take the pieces, the best of all worlds, and put it into one. So what do I do for nutrition? I take the best of all worlds and put it into one super game changer, next level approach, right? So you look at guys like David Wolfe, raw food, raw food, raw food, raw food, and he ties himself to it. Like most people, they tie themselves to a diet, which means they got to stick to the diet. They can't grow. For me, I don't care if I have something wrong. I want to learn, I want to grow, make it better. So for raw foods, I'll integrate a lot of raw foods. Like, wheatgrass juice, and then a super juice to reduce inflammation with like cucumbers for the kidneys, celery. Celery kind of looks like a ligament. Well, it's good for the ligaments and has lots of organic sodium. Then you put in some lemon with the peel on it. Lemon peels in all traditional Chinese medicine formulas as being one of the #1 longevity, anti-aging strategies. It's pretty cheap. You don't have to spend tens of dollars on things. You can do the lemon peel. Then, for ladies, we want to get a little bit of beet juice in there because it has a lot of methyl groups. A little bit. You don't need to go too much. Oh, too much sugar. Just do a little bit. Because then you have the methyl groups which help with the liver to detoxify. Phase 1. Do you guys like the science? Do you want me to go in like the liver? Yeah. My brain will just keep ripping science, so you guys got to let me know. Yeah. So liver has two stages. What did you say there, cheeky?
Nothing, I said nothing.
Oh, I'll be cheeky. Your behind will be mine if you play with me. #1, phase 1 of liver detoxification is methyl groups. Okay? So methyl groups come in many things. #1 is in egg yolks. Okay? So if there is a burn or some, traumatic stress, one of the things that they'll give in hospitals and even traditional Chinese medicine will be, egg yolks. The yolks are really good. Even mushrooms, like, button mushrooms and all these different mushrooms, they're high in methyl groups. So see how you feel, and as long as you wash them really good, you'll get any of the bacteria off of it. And that's where mushrooms become a problem, is if they're in like the bulk bin and then mold and spores grow under it and then you eat it and that stresses the body. Mold will stress the body. Anytime you have moldy food or any food which has some form of toxin on it, it'll destabilize your body. You'll get jittery. You'll feel off. Make sense? So that's really good for B vitamins. Other B vitamins is
So the methyl
beets.
group is B vitamins, is that what you mean?
B vitamins are methylators, meaning they donate methyl groups so that your liver can use the methyl groups and like a claw, detoxify toxins. And then one of my favorite herbs to do, and number one important for all you ladies, you all should be doing it, is for phase 2, where you take all the products and you rebuild them together. Rebuild them together. So you take all the breakdown that's rebuilt into new molecules, so instead of depleting liver cells, now they're rebuilt into usable parts. And that's turmeric. Turmeric. Turmeric directly reduces inflammation. Turmeric is one of the best ways to help heal a leaky gut because it reduces stress. Stress is the number one thing that causes all the gut problems, because when your heart is stressed, it messes the stomach up. It's just like, for the anxiety attacks I used to have. I'd have butterflies sick to my stomach. Right? So the number one thing for leaky gut is stress. Turmeric's really huge. Another thing to help heal the gut is called resveratrol, or reverse it all. You've heard it, right? Now you got to make sure you get the trans version. But those two in high dosages help to heal a leaky gut. And what else does is progesterone. So you may even want to look at, getting some bioidentical progesterone with like a naturopath doctor. Or then supplement you could get over the counter pregnenolone. And then if you combine it with the anti-inflammatories, DHA and iodine are super anti-inflammatory, by the way. The number one ways. So supplement with iodine, potassium iodide, and titrate up. Meaning you start low and you start building up. So that way you just don't whack your body with too much and it's like, oh, this is no good. No, the amount you're taking it was no good. Yeah. Cool? Then, what else for brain nutrition, especially for leaky gut, is the higher DHA diet, higher amount of protein. Now for women, first thing in the morning, you want to get some protein in. Because what happens is first thing in the morning, our kidneys and everything are open. Meaning any amino acids we put in, our kidneys collect and keep, and then the kidneys are basically like the collectors for neurotransmitters. So as we collect more of the amino acid like tyrosine, then when we go out in the light, it allows us to make more dopamine. So one of the number one things for females, cortisol is high in the morning. So most women skip breakfast because they're going and doing things. Now the reason why that's a bad thing is because cortisol is already elevated. Now when you don't put anything in your body, or if you work out on an empty stomach, which works better for guys than females, but works for females once you're a fat burner, cortisol is elevated, and then when you just stress yourself out by running into the day in busy mode, it skyrockets cortisol more and more. Now, if you get a cortisol spike because stress gets really high, it'll send a cortisol spike, it'll affect you for 24 to 48 hours. And you can tell when cortisol's high, your face and everything will get more swollen. Your tummy will get more swollen. And everything will just feel looser. Make sense? So the more you reduce the stress, the tighter everything becomes. And the more there's inflammation, the more everything oxidizes and rusts. So the best ways to reduce inflammation, the number one thing that causes stress is the mind. Okay? So the number one thing I can say to everyone for the mind is that the world is not the problem. The universe isn't the problem. It's not Joe's the problem. You are the universe. You are the world. You are your own problem, but also your own solution. So when you change yourself, it changes the whole reality. Your problems can go away. Now, many people, they want to talk about what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad in terms of beliefs. I'm about what's useful. What's useful to believe to ignite your human spirit so you can do the most good possible. Because situations will happen. Shit will happen. You'll come home, kids will leave the whole kitchen a mess. I know, because I was one of them. And it's all about it's all about your response to the response. Okay? So there's a situation. That is what it is. You get to control the response. That's where consciousness comes in. Okay? So you get to choose how you want to respond to anything. So most people believe that you have to suffer and go through pain. That's a choice you're making. You're choosing to believe that. Or you can take happiness, good feelings when everyone else is sad and down, and you can take that to be the light, to shine, an example. And guess what? Our brain is a learning machine. We're constantly learning new patterns of function. And happiness, vibrance, it's a learned pattern in the brain. You learn to become happy. You learn to become confident. You know, I didn't just become this way here. This is, you know, every single day, building it and building it and building it and building it. And then there'll be leaps and bounds. There'll be points where things take off, where you do events or you do, you know, you have experiences and you just amaze yourself. And you put yourself out there because life is about learning. And you have to go for it. And there's two biggest problems that people have. Number one's hesitation. And it's all caused by low dopamine in the brain. When brains are, you know, can't think clearly, like most people in North America, they grip to the short-term solution because they see, like, once again, a short movie, take a drug, hopefully it cures my thing. Where they don't have the capacity to think, to see the full consequences of their actions. And all of industry is designed on capitalizing on you not having the dopamine to make the movies to see the full-out consequences. The entire drug industry, everything they feed kids, everything they medicate you with, is all based on you not thinking, not having the dopamine to see the full implications of everything. Because when you see the full implications of everything, you make a long movie and then you change the steps, you go backwards. Now all of a sudden what you do right now is different. Now all of a sudden you start empowering yourself. Now all of a sudden you start thinking, shit, all this shit happened, but hey, I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna find a solution. Because the number one thing people do is they take shit too seriously.
Why are you looking at me when you're saying that?
Because you had a serious face on. They take shit too seriously. You gotta lighten up a little and have a little fun. Because the thing is, if you take everything serious, everything will become serious. Right? If you take your shit serious, it'll be serious shit. And you'll be sitting in it. And you'll be sitting in it.
That's true.
See, the thing is, your brain, your physiology, you look at kids, you look at nature. When we're relaxed, when we're flowing, when the brain juice is high, everything just happens. Ideas, insights happen in an instant. You don't need to spend hours upon hours upon hours grinding out problems. Like for me, I think of this talk and I formed the whole movie of it. It happens in an instant because I'm relaxed. I come in here, I'm relaxed. I'm just allowing things to flow and to flow naturally. It's the same thing for you. When you relax, relaxation is power because then the energy flows. Whenever you're stressed and tense, it constricts the brain. It locks the brain in. It gets tunnel vision. And it's like, oh. So back up a little. Expand things, relax. Okay? Because the number one thing is rigidity. Rigidity spells death. You look at, your grandpa or grandma, they're all bent over. Or people talk about calcification. Have you guys ever heard about calcification? People talk about calcification. Well, guess what calcification just is? It's a hardening of the body. And you get harder and harder. You have the hard-headedness as you get with age. You have the hardening of the joints with arthritis. You don't, because you're a little nimble bee. But hardening spells death. Okay, hardening is when the planet hardens before life is done. Whereas life is soft and fluid, like a baby. You have to be soft and fluid in your thinking. You have to be willing to let things go so that you can flow to new and better solutions. You have to be willing to try things. Get in the game. Because when you get in the game in life and you live it out, you learn at rapid rate. You experience things. You wonder, how much can I achieve in a day? How much fun can I have? And then you see people and you think, how the heck could they possibly know all this stuff by that age? Are you kidding me? But it's because you get in the game and you relax, you let go. You allow your creativity and curiosity to take over, because curiosity is the number one thing you gotta have. You gotta be curious as to what you can achieve and do in your lifetime, how you can influence people, how you can grow as a person, how you can do more good. You gotta be curious as to how this problem, how these behaviors hold with them the keys, the seeds of a magical solution. Because me, you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have thought I was going to Harvard Law, Harvard MBA. I would have been one great lawyer, smart, but I would have been stressed as can be. I would have been one of those stress monkeys. You see them walking downtown, right? They're on their cell phones, they're stress monkeys.
Yeah, Bay Street, yeah.
Bay Street, stress monkeys. You wanna know why? Their brains have no dopamine. Because they live in apartments, they're in the city, bombarded by EMF. Don't you guys go in the city and you leave, you just feel drained? Feel like crap? Well, who has jet lag? Who has jet lag here? She feels pretty lethargic. Doesn't your brain and everything feel tired? That's because you're in the air, exposed to higher EMF, and it destroys the charge in your body. So I, similar to you, had when I went to London, England, I had 4 hours of sleep the night before. Then I flew Saturday morning, and I had this cheap flight to London, England. I didn't know about all the extravagances and places I'd be going on there. $400 to London, England sounds like a great deal until, oh, we're flying to Halifax. Then we're flying to St. John's. Oh, then you have a full day layover in St. John's and you're taking the midnight flight from midnight to 8 a.m. So you have 2 nights with no sleep. So I'm in Newfoundland on no night's sleep, and I have this cool guy, Don, who's driving me around to show me all the places. Because, you know, those Newfoundlanders, they're pretty proud. So I end up having 2 nights of sleep, and I get to London, and I'm staying, I don't know where I'm staying. We bought cheap Airbnb again. Not a good idea. I end up going, my place is in Soho. Red Light District, London. I go to the place, there's 2 clubs underneath and 2 big black guys looking there, and then there's this little skinny door leading to an apartment on top. And I'm a sensitive guy. So I go in there in that room in the club, it's just bouncing and bouncing, and it's 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. and I'm just like, fuck, I ain't sleeping tonight. So I go on Facebook and I message Belinda, and she's like, what are you doing up at this time? I can't sleep. And I just meditate to get my chi on 2 hours of sleep. And there was 3 nights like that. And so my body got pretty broken down. Thank goodness I got the heck out of there, and there was another Airbnb. But it'll take a lot out of you, so you have to have the resilience. Now, I did certain things to make sure my body didn't get broken down. Number 1, as soon as I got off the plane, immediately went to a park and grounded myself. After those 2 days, I went to Hyde Park, completely passed out with my shirt off in the sun. Thank God, a blue moon. There was sun in London, England. Saw it for 1 day. The first day, I was like, oh, this looks exciting. I heard, you know, it's always raining here. So I went. The first day was sunny. It was rainy. It would just sprinkle. They would tease you. The sun would come out for a second, it would sprinkle. Then it would sprinkle. Then it would sprinkle. In the sun, I felt it huge. But my strategy was go in, 2 hours, fell asleep right on the earth. Everyone, when the sun comes out in London, they all go to the park. They run. It's hilarious. You just see the herd running. It's like, where's everyone going? Maybe I should follow. Maybe I shouldn't. Is there a tsunami or something? No, we're not near water. And then I went to Whole Foods, I had a whole bunch of raw juices because my body's energy was low, so I wanted to get a lot of easy, usable energy in me. So like wheatgrass juices, cucumber, celery, then I had beet juice, and then I went and I did a workout. Not too crazy, my body was already stressed, but I needed to do something to raise my energy. Now when I go to a new place, I immediately synchronize with their time when I'm on the plane. So if it's 8 a.m. there, London, when I'm on the plane, it's 8 a.m. in my brain. Synchronize right away, don't mess around, right away. So I did a workout, some Qigong, Tai Chi, and some cardiovascular exercise to get the energy moving. Then I meditated after, and then I didn't sleep. So Luckily, I had a whole like tonic herbal regimen that I take with me wherever I go. Those are like the money. So you have nutrition, which is kind of the foodstuffs which build the brain and body. Then there's things in like traditional Chinese medicine, tonic herbs, which actually build your immune system, build your kidney organ power, rebuild your bones and your brain. So these are one of the most important things. And there's a lot of Chinese sages who basically said, I just live to drink tea. I just like drinking tea. It makes me feel good. And the key point is that all the drugs are in nature. They're all there. The most powerful stuff. Even things like marijuana, used medicinally, has medicinal properties. It's just when you use marijuana, over time and time and time, what do they call marijuana? Dope. Why is that? Because it depletes dopamine. Now, have you ever talked to kids who smoke a lot of dope? Does their brain work fast or slow? I'm not making this up, guys, you know? Your observations provide proof. Slow, right? Yeah. And guess what else they're slow in? Acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is help build up the cell membrane, which is why over time you can really fry the brain. Okay, so the thing is, all these type of neuroactive herbs are meant to be done, specific ones like marijuana, used selectively on a case-by-case basis, used intelligently. Things like the tonic herbs, like reishi, like ginseng, like even things like deer antler, and there's a lot of female hormone herbs to use, and you'll notice a difference, right?
Yeah.
Big time, yeah.
Stereo. Yep.
Yeah. Well, look, you know, you guys are both glowing.
Did he make you eat ants?
No.
He gave me ant power. He didn't give you ant power. You didn't give her ant power?
I haven't seen her, and I didn't have the answer.
Oh.
Um,
Oh, sorry.
Actually, ants, extract of ant, the reason why they're fantastic really for your hormones, for your jing. Are you guys familiar with Chinese medicine?
Yes.
Yes? So you have basically, you have your hormone, your essence, which is like your kidney, energy, jing power, your life essence, like the candlestick. From that, you have the energy which emerges, called the qi, which, you know, mobilizes your energy, mobilizes your immune system, helps you move around. And then from that, that's like the flame. From that emerges the shen, the spirit, which is like the radiance, the glow, the aura. So you ever notice that some people, they're just glowing brightly? You just see it in their eyes, they're sparkling. And it's like, wow, what a light, bright person to be around.
Her name is Karen.
Care Bear, sunshine, sunshine. Karen, the ultimate sunshine. Try not smiling around Karen. Right? So basically, whenever your hormone essence is low, it reduces your chi and reduces your spirit. So part of this group that Karen's building and everything is about, you know, becoming a better person, a lighter, brighter person, enlightening your spirit, activating your spirit. Because the spirit, when you activate it, it just glows everywhere and it's infinite. And you become so much more aware, so much more conscious, so much more connected. Now you can't do it if your body is holding you back, if the candle wick is just getting lower and lower and lower, if your hormones are way out of whack, if your progesterone and everything from hormonal changes is way out of whack. And the number one thing that destroys that is stress. It burns through that candle flame. And then you got to raise the energy in your body. Everything's about energy. It's not about time management, it's about energy management. Because if you have the energy, you can just keep going and going and going. And then if you have the brain power, you can get things done in a quarter of the time. Right? Now, have you guys ever noticed how like the days now, they just kind of go by like that? Our perception of time is actually a function of the amount of energy we have per unit density of the neocortex. So babies, or not babies, children, their brains are just tons of energy. It's like a rocket ship in their head. And you know, young children, their brains consume up to 75% of the energy capacity, energy requirements. So the brain has tons of energy. When there's lots of energy, it's moving faster and faster, time slows down. It means time becomes more expansive. It means your perception, your experience of time is more expansive. It means you can fit more into each moment. And when you make each moment expansive and you extend it over a life, your life becomes so much richer. You're able to do so much more. And when you're able to do so much more, it reduces stress. Because we get, more and more stress the more we don't get things done. The more, we're indecisive. The more that to-do list builds. How would you like to be so much in the flow of life where you're just so busy getting things done that you don't even have time to think or worry?
Hallelujah.
Yeah? You want to know why people actually worry? Because they have too much time on their hands, and that's why they worry. And then they're in their heads, and they say, oh, I got to go. I don't have enough time. I don't have this. And they just actually train their brain to think they don't have enough time. They have all the time in the world. They have too much time. So one of the things I ask people is, what are you going to do with all that time? Right? When you're not worrying, what are you going to do with all the time? And then when I'm working with them, we have to make sure they just don't fill it with more nonsense, because people will. Or they don't just go watch TV from it. Hey, we just got you more hour or two. Let's get things done here. Let's see the results. So what would you guys do with an extra hour or two every day of high energy, of feeling really, really good? Now, we all have things within us that ignite our spirit, ignite our passions. And one of the reasons why children are just these wonderful ball of learning is because their brains are in theta states. They're relaxed. So you, relaxed, it allows you to tap into your unconscious mind, all the emotions and memories and desires and things which drive your behavior. So if you were to completely open that up to your childhood desires, if you could do anything you wanted and prove to yourself you could do anything you wanted, what would you want to do? Why don't you just close your eyes for a sec? And just think about all the wonderful things you dreamt of doing when you were kids. All the excitement and passion you had and curiosity every day, saying, Mom, Dad, let's go, let's go, let's go. Or you remember those nights before you were going on vacation to someplace new and you were just so excited. You couldn't even sleep. And maybe you had your brother or sister there and you guys just kept chatting all night and your mom and dad said, guys, go to sleep already. And you're just like, Mom, I can't, I'm so excited. I can't wait to go to Disney World or wherever it is you want to go. But the key thing is our brain and our bodies will only age if we let it. We can choose to keep that wonderful softness and excitement and allow it to propel us forward to whatever we want. Now, to get different results than most people, you have to think differently than most people. You have to have a different approach. You have to have a get in the game kind of mentality. You have to be willing to fail because there is no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. Everything's just information. It's either the rocket got to the moon or it didn't. And if it didn't get to the moon, then hey, you got to try another approach. So everything is simply just information. Information that you can use to become a better person. And the key thing is not to compare yourself to other people. The key is to compare yourself to yourself. And the thing is, people talk about personal power. The thing about personal power is seeing what you do well and seeing what you don't do well. And each and every day, becoming a better person, stepping into more responsibility, more challenge, because your brains were made for challenging. And the number one reason why your kids may be in school and may not be learning is because they're not being challenged. They're not being excited. They're not being motivated. And then you, like them, may not have been giving the learning strategies on how to learn. How to most effectively use your brain. Because I have news for you, everyone. If you turn on the TV and look at the memory champions, people who remember decks of cards and tons of information, there's nothing different about their brains. What's different is that not that they have a genius brain, they have a genius strategy. They're able to take the processes of the brain, how the brain remembers best, and leverage them to remember amazing, amazing things. Now, our entire life, things like, skills like spelling. We were told to spell phonetically. And the thing is, you can't even spell phonetically. It's like trying to spell like caught.
You're a big phony.
Yeah. You see, you look at kids who spell, who do things well, and that's what you got to do. You got to study people who do things really well and see what strategies they use, how they do it. Not why, what's about them, it's how they do it. And for spelling, kids make pictures of it. So they see it big up and to the left, they see this big picture, and they have this feeling that it's the right one. Now, if you take a kid and you get them to make pictures of the words that they're spelling, all of a sudden they can spell. Or if you take pictures of every page for a speech you want to give, and you take the picture, that's what I did, of this page, put it in the feeling. Then flip to the next page, take it, put it in the feeling. And then when I'm speaking, I can effortlessly move from one whole page of information. I'm cheating in my brain, guys. I have my notes in my brain. And that's what I tell kids. You can cheat in advance. You just have to use your brain differently. So the thing is, you all can cheat. You all can get the edge if you use your brain intelligently. And your brain is capable of just amazing feats, amazing things. And it's time you start using your brain with purpose and on purpose. And with that, ladies, share with me some of your purposes, and I'm going to help you get to your goals much faster. Okay? Any questions? You have a question, my dear?
Do I have a question?
Any questions?
How do I change my brain from being gripped in depression? It's like a silly band.
You have depression?
Yes. It's
Okay.
like a silly band. I pull it out, okay, it's nice and round, and then boom, it's back to a giraffe.
Okay. So you just got to start exploding things up. It seems like things are kind of tied down. Yeah, we know we don't like being tied down, right? Yeah, so we want to release things. Now, there's 3 things to depression. Number 1 is the depressed mood. That's caused by low DHA in your brain. Number 2, low dopamine, which is why you're not motivated, which is why you feel tied down. Number 3, your energy may be low, and that's caused by low progesterone. Okay? So the number 1 thing is we have to get more DHA in your brain. And you do that by...
Get the thoughts out of my brain.
Pardon?
How do I get the thoughts out of my brain?
Okay, well, what are you thinking? Well, how do you get depressed?
I've been depressed since I was 16.
But how do you know you're depressed? What happens in your mind?
It just feels black.
It feels black? Well, where does the feeling start in your body?
It's in my head.
It starts in your head. And where does it move to? Each feeling, because feelings are controlled by our anemic nervous system, which connect the hollow and solid organs. How does that feeling move?
It just stays constant.
It stays there. Now, but just pay attention to the feeling. The feeling will move subtly. It'll either move forward, or it'll move backwards, or it'll spin clockwise or counterclockwise. Pay attention to how it moves. Pardon?
It feels like back.
Can you show me with your finger how it moves?
It's like in the back of my brain.
Okay. But how does it move, though?
It doesn't really move.
It
just
moves.
sits there.
It moves subtly. Just try it out. Try with your finger. Just try it on.
So really,
What have you got to lose?
I'm not really getting this because it just feels.
Well, just see.
So
Just.
how do you, I'm sorry, I don't get it either. How do you think it moves? I'm not quite sure.
Well, feelings move one way or another. Do any of you get anxiety or anything? Yeah? Okay, well, pay attention. How do you do anxiety? Notice how the feeling moves in your body. Does it move forward or does it move backwards?
So it might start in my gut.
Yeah.
Move up. Is that what you mean? Like where the direction is going? in
Yeah,
the
I mean
body?
how it physically moves, the feeling.
In the body.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're saying it doesn't go anywhere, it just
No, it's
stays.
like a paperweight.
It just stays.
Okay. Well, every feeling moves subtly.
Well, that must be very subtle.
Okay. Well, if it's subtle, then it's kind of small. Well, you could just, take a deep breath.
Not as simple as that.
Well, you could take a deep breath and relax and sigh.
Relax. See, there's the problem.
Just sigh.
Relax isn't something
Okay.
you do well.
Okay. Well, have you ever been calm before?
I don't think so.
You've never been calm.
I'm sure I've been calm, but
Okay. Well, can you recall a time when you've been calm? Could be, you know, the time when you are the most calm you've ever been in your life. You have it? And there's even a giggle attached to it. It's even funny there. Oh my goodness.
The depression is funny.
Oh, it is pretty funny. It's like, what are you being depressed for? Maybe, you know? It just sounds, yeah.
Longevity and calm.
Yeah. But you've been calm before.
Again, it's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you call a time when you've been calm?
Without medication.
A time when you've been calm. What are you looking at her for?
Well,
It's your
because
brain.
We spent a long time,
Yeah.
I know her pretty well. I'm trying to think,
Yeah.
when you were relocated in your new apartment?
So when you sleep, you're depressed.
Oh, probably.
Really? Do you have depressing dreams?
If I sleep, I dream of the dead.
Okay. Yeah. Well, who knows what's real, what's dead?
They may come.
It's all energy.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
I
But
just-
but she's locked. She's absolutely,
She's
I
locked.
think you are just locked in
Yeah.
Okay.
whatever it is. Whatever it is, she's can't move forward,
Okay.
can't move backward,
Okay.
trapped. It's almost like you're trapped in this.
So, what would it be worth to you to break through it? Like a rocket ship, if you could break through, if you could get completely in the game.
Is this financial or?
No, I'm just asking you. How, you know, what would it be worth to you? What would it be worth to you if you could get in the game? You've already opened yourself up more, so you're already beginning to shed that cocoon.
Yeah, well.
And this is big news. This is huge. For
See, the thing
This is
is,
very huge for my friend because she's
Yeah.
so closed in. I'm sorry
Yeah.
to do,
Yeah, it's
but
okay.
she's being more revealing here than I have
Yeah.
ever seen.
Yeah.
You know.
see, the thing is, you just laughed at how silly it is to be depressed. See, most people, they say, you know, they're going to go in the future and they're going to look back and laugh. Why not just laugh now?
Sense of humor, so I laugh at stuff.
So you got to laugh a little bit more. And you're relaxed right now, so I know you were lying to me, which I knew you.
Crossed my arms, so there we go.
Oh, but that doesn't mean anything. You're laughing. You're laughing.
Yeah.
See, unconsciously you're laughing. Consciously you're just trying to fight
I'd
it.
love to have my brain scanned. How much does that cost?
Well, we can. You should scan your brain.
It does what I think it does.
We'll scan your brain, and we'll also do some work with your brain. Because your brain already knows how silly you're being. And you're laughing at yourself. And you're humorous. So you'll be laughing at yourself in no time. And you'll take that laughter and you use it to just light a firecracker up your ass. Because you're being a little bit too serious right now, my dear. You're taking yourself too serious. You're thinking, I'm depressed, but maybe you're not depressed. Maybe you're
I'm a
laughing.
Capricorn, that's what.
Maybe you're laughing. And you are relaxed. You're a Capricorn. I thought I heard unicorn. I thought I saw her on a horse, you know, flying off. You know, you could if you want a unicorn. We can work on it. We'll work on manifesting it.
Very low on the list of desires.
Okay. Well, why don't you just think about your desires, and then when we're finished, you can just tell me what some of your desires are, and then I can tell you how we can help catapult you, light your ass up so that you're laughing away and can get to those desires.
Well, I got a lot of it to
Okay.
light up, so.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, yay! Way to go, Susan. Good for you.
Go on to somebody else now.
I'm not done with you, Susan.
Position.
There's a part of you in every one of us, right?
Yeah.
We can all relate to some of the things that you're saying, I promise.
Yeah.
Right? So we've got our own patterns and stuff that keep coming.
Yeah.
And I can
Thanks,
say that
Susan.
I've gone where you are with him. He doesn't let you off.
My job is to get you to where you want to go, not to be nice to you.
But you're a nice trainer.
I am nice.
You're great. I can't do anything. Yes, you can. I don't feel like it. Yes, you do. Fuck you, Chris. No, fuck you, Belinda.
Fuck you, get down. Another, you know, push.
I'm not kidding.
I believe it.
Yeah. 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 Nice. The nice thing is just to allow yourself. Yeah, because deep down, you're all hungering to be happy. You just got to allow yourself.
Express.
Yeah.
And women, we don't always express ourselves freely.
Yeah.
We get stuck.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. That's the number one thing. Like women, like, this is your time. The times now, women are empowering themselves left, right, and center. Find your voice and scream and shout, baby, because it's a woman's world, you know? Women are the prize. Women are the treasure. You know what I mean? You ladies could get your men to do whatever you want. You just got to be smart about it. You got to train the brain. Because guys' brain, they're very sequential, logical. So brain connects reward and activity. So brain sees food and man is like, Man watches sport and he says yes and has a good time. Man has sex. They're very simple, trainable brains, ladies. Ladies, you have to blame yourself for not weaving your own power to get the life you want. To get those puppy dog men of yours to be chasing you around and licking you and buttering you up. Women, they're just waiting to be buttered up. Really, buttered up with care, comfort, relaxation, satisfaction. And guys, we're not very good at buttering women up. So that's one of my jobs, is helping men to treat women better. And helping women to start taking freaking control. Showing things how are going to be. Honey, this is what's happening. For you, you're not getting any tonight. You do this, you do this, you do this. And you know the man's brain only focuses on one thing. So when he's watching sports and you say, honey, go cut the lawn. And he says, yeah, honey, you know he's not listening. Because his brain can only process one thing at a time. So then when he doesn't cut the lawn, you go get his ass. Because you know he wasn't listening. I would even tell him another thing. You could even say, honey, you better remember this when I ask you later. And you'll be watching sports. You'll say, yeah, honey. And then you'll ask him and he won't remember. Then his ass will be yours. Just don't tell him I told you to do that. It's true, ladies. It's your world. So, Wonder Women, any more questions?
So with the importance of the sunshine, like I am a different person
Yeah.
in the summer than the winter. Winter, way down there.
Yeah.
So what are some ideas to help us
Yeah.
build the dopamine in the winter?
Go on vacation.
Go on vacation.
Only a week. Oh, no.
There's
Oh, wow.
two parts to the solution.
Yeah,
Is
that's right, we all can't do that.
is one, cold increases dopamine.
What does?
Cold. So in the winter, you're designed to expose yourself to the cold, which is why if you go out on a winter's night, it's cold and crisp, you notice your brain works clearer. Your brain's a super quantum computer. Super quantum computers have to go in cooling rooms, and you have to cool your brain. So cool. Another thing is cold cools your surface. When things are cooler, they absorb more light. So even though it may only be spring or fall and it's only 10 degrees, you can still get out, get the sun on your skin, and it's still synthesizing more light. That's why people like Swedish girls and guys, or people from the north, have blonde hair and blue eyes, because it attracts more light to it. So that, we can harvest more light. That's why we aren't hairy chimps and gorillas, and we lost our hair. So our skin can absorb more light and be a solar panel to charge our brain. Which is why, if you get a lot of sunshine and drink a lot of water and live kind of like a plant, you don't need to eat. And guess what? Do plants, do they get cancer? No. Why? Because they're connected. So what's the key word tonight? Connect. Connect to the earth. Connect to the sun. Connect to people around you. Connect to yourself. Meditate and think, what does your heart really desire? And then you go out and do it. That's what connection's about. And you're females. You're more connected than guys anyways. Guys, we're a lost cause, some of us. Females, there's always a chance. Yeah, so, yeah.
I have a question about something you said earlier, and you said that men have a nothing box. Was that a joke or is that real? Because, I've been going along with my husband in the car, and he'll say something, I'll say something, and about 30 seconds later, I'll say something else that doesn't seem to, I'll say, this is what my brain did in the last 30 seconds, and I will connect the dots from. Wow. Because
That's right. Yeah, it's right.
I don't know
Yeah.
that there's a time when there's ever a nothing.
Oh, there-
In meditation, it's not nothing. Meditation there's,
It's a focus thought,
there,
that's what it
it's a,
is.
yeah,
It is,
it's a
it is.
focus.
Oh, there's a nothing.
But there's not a nothing.
In the men, there's nothing box. I'm a guy. You know, you're asking a guy about a guy.
So there really is a nothing.
Oh, the box? Oh, well, everything's a creation of the mind. But really, the thing is, there really is times where there's nothing going on in the guy's brain. And I'm not making this up. It is. And guess what? You know how smart you are. You're connecting all the dots. The guy, if he's thinking, he's only focused on one dot. So you're connected everything. He's still focused. He's still on the first dot. He's still trying to find out how to leap over to the second one, but he can't do it because his brain's too rigid. You already know, yeah.
You're talking too fast to my husband about do. It's just like this glaze.
Yes.
Yeah.
I cannot keep up and doesn't want to. Right?
Honey, when are we having dinner?
Yeah. That's
why men can't multitask.
They can't multitask very well. Yeah.
They can only process one instruction
Yeah.
at a time.
Female brain, I mean, the thing is about the female brain, multitasking, it splits your focus, which splits your concentration. And females, you know, they can be making dinner. You're on the phone, watching TV all at the same time, making everything happen. But when you split your concentration, it does split your consciousness and the intelligence you're flowing. So yeah, for sure. So one of the best things is to train yourself to focus exclusively on one thing. Even if it's simple meditation, you focus on the breath in and out. And you just train your brain to focus, because then the brain habituates and you get into the flow. Which is why when you're running, it gets you into the flow.
And it
Because
expands time.
it expands time flow.
So men should be smarter than women then if they can only concentrate on one thing at a time.
Yeah, but you're assuming that there's equal brain power to start with between men and women, which is a bad assumption.
Well, you're doing pretty good, buddy. Yeah.
I'm just trying to make myself
Train
look
your
better.
brain, right?
Yeah.
So what is the difference between men having that empty box space and the stillness or mindfulness?
Oh, stillness, mindfulness,
I don't know what the difference is because when I hear
Emptiness.
empty box.
emptiness. Yeah, the thing is for guys, when I say the nothing box, it is a little bit of, you know, kind of a joke, but in a lot of the ways, there's a lot of times where guys were simply just not thinking. And the thing is, the mind will be consumed with anything. Now, stillness, what you're talking about is we want to get to emptiness.
So the empty box for a guy could be still chatter, but they don't remember.
The thing is, no, the guys, it seems like there's really nothing, there's nothing going on in their brain. It's just like complete,
But
like,
they're not relaxed like stillness though.
well, you could say that stillness, see, the thing is, what you're trying to say with stillness is emptiness in the mind. So then no thought. But then the thing, there's the perceiver that's aware of the no thought. So in any way you look at it, there's always a thought, because there's always a perceiver. So even the presence of no thought, there's still the thought because you're trying to observe it. Okay, so the whole key though on stillness is emptiness, trying to empty the mind.
Right.
So,
What is the empty box man experiencing?
oh, well, the empty box man is just the nothing box and his mouth is open, he's just like, duh.
Benefit to that is
No, he's in a nothing state.
okay, I'm just trying to get the two clear.
No, the control, the mindfulness, stillness it's a focus.
Mindfulness-
Focusing.
Two types of meditation. One is the Taoist, the way of focusing on one point. The other way is the Shaolin method that I practice, which is complete emptiness, complete letting the go of the mind, complete absence of thought. Now, even when there's absence of thought consciously, subconsciously, that mind is still going a million miles an hour. And then while you're emptiness meditation, some of them will bubble up in your brain. It'll be the good stuff because it's coming from your subconscious mind, and then you'll become aware of it. So even if you're consciously, there's no thought, subconsciously, oh, there's magic moving even faster, which is where if you get a psychic reading, I did one with Belinda, and she's like, holy smokes, your brain's moving at like a million miles an hour. And I said, Belinda, I'm not thinking of a single thing. Consciously I wasn't, but unconsciously everything's going really fast. That's what meditation does. Now the thing is, when you train your brain to be like that, where consciously it's like an empty board, now your unconscious mind is firing super, super fast. So now you can be in a meeting, you can be speaking live, and your brain instantly has pure access to pure thoughts. And that's what I call it, pure thoughts, where it's right from your unconscious mind. And at any moment engaging with any person, you can call, a pure thought. And you know it's truly your thought from your heart. And then you can be confident in acting from those thoughts, that they're genuine, that when you have those desires bubbling up from within, okay, those are the ones you act on. Make sense? Now, when you're stressed and thrown off, then you're thinking all different things. Those are crappy thoughts. You don't want those. So you want to just shut that off so you allow the good stuff to bubble up. That's what meditation's about.
Right, I'm still concerned about the empty box that men have, 'cause I can't wrap my head around that.
Oh, men?
I don't get it.
Sometimes men...
Look, isn't there a look?
Yeah, but I still assume
Okay, this is the thing. There's a moment in time where there is a gap, where nothing happens. The brain just shuts off. There's like a synapse, there's a neuron, then there's the synapse, and the signal just goes so slow that it takes so long, where there's a moment of time where nothing appears to happen in the man's brain.
Yeah, like it's not a 10.
Now, it's not like there's nothing where everything stops. There's always something. But it appears like there's a nothing box. Because the thing is, there's not an actual box in your brain. If I had your head open, you're not going to see a box in there. But there's a manifestation of it. So there's a manifestation of specific networks of a work box, of a sex box, of a sports box, of a nothing box. Because sometimes there really is nothing going on in men's brain. And I'm sorry,
No, it's okay.
It's the way our brains are wired. Make sense?
I would have to experience it, and I guess I never will.
Oh, well, the thing is, you can experience, for you, what do you want to work on?
What do I want to work on?
Yeah, or what do you want to experience more of?
Oh, probably just more joy.
More joy? Yeah, so that's where, for you, doing, emptiness meditation for a period for 20 minutes. So you start off with conscious focusing on one point. So it could be on your belly, breathing in, belly expands, breathing out, belly swings in, and you focus on it. Now, when you focus on one point, it habituates your brain. So then your conscious mind, your prefrontal cortex, shuts off. And when
practice.
Over time. Over time. So that where, like, instantly your mind can just be silent all the time. And you close your eyes and instantly you get there. Now the emotional, the limbic brain, which I didn't talk to too much about female, but the alarm centers, the emotional brain, they're much more active in the female brain. Now the limbic brain, which has our emotions, our experiences, is a major source of our unconscious value system. So when we shut off the conscious mind and we get into deep meditation, it allows for some bubbling up and some reorganization of emotions and memories. It can allow for letting go, profound release. And there's certain brainwave rhythms which correlate with that, like the theta brainwave rhythm of the hippocampus, which controls memory, and the amygdala, which is the fear center. And guess what? If you train the brain with something like neurofeedback, which I do, you can facilitate the emotional releasing in the unconscious mind, so you can rebuild your mind. Mind mastery matrix. Cool, eh? Yeah. See, the thing is, everything's connected. And the more bits you require, it's kind of like the more toys you can work with. Until you just have enough toys and you keep expanding the playing field till you can just start building this castle and seeing nature for what it is. How amazing it is. And then you can start solving problems on your own. When you have the tools, then you can see, like on your map, okay, what happens if this happens? Then you have your baseline information, you can come up with the solution yourself. Then you can test it. Then when you go see like your doctor or some expert, you can think,
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing.
They don't like that.
Pardon?
They don't like that, when you can think for yourself.
Well, just get a better doctor. There's a lot of doctors who do. And then you want to use your doctor to get all your hormone panels anyway, so build a good relationship.
I think we need to bring Chris back, don't we?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Do you guys have fun? Yeah. A big hug for every lady in the house.
Thank you.